Hello, grade 8 students. This is Ma'am Clarissa Diaz. Welcome to our first video lesson in Mathematics 8. Our lesson for today is all about relations and functions, dependent and independent variables. Before we start, let us see what you will learn at the end of our lessons. Pwede ba kayong sumabay sa aking pagbasa ng ating mga objectives? Okay lang ba? Okay, our objectives are: number 1, illustrate a relation. Number 2, represent a relation in terms of ordered pairs, table, mapping diagram, graph, and ruled method. Number 3, identify the type of relation. Number 4, illustrate a function. Number 5, define dependent and independent variable. Number 6, apply dependent and independent variables in real-life situation. And number 7, differentiate the dependent variable from the independent variable. Kaya grade 8 students, tandaan ninyo meron 7 importanteng matutunan kayo ngayong araw. Bago tayo magpatuloy, meron tayong activity na gagawin upang maalala natin ang ating previous lesson about Cartesian plane. Ready na ba kayo? Gagamitin natin ang ating worksheet 1. So ito ang inyong gagawin. Ipa-plot o ilalagay ang mga points sa Cartesian plane at lagyan ng label kung anong point ito at isulat sa guhit kung saang quadrant ito nakalagay. Halimbawa, yung ating point F. Ito ay nakalagay sa quadrant 1 dahil may ordered pair ito na positive 8 para sa x-axis at positive 6 para sa y-axis. Bibigyan ko kayo ng 5 minutes upang magawa ang ating activity. Our time starts now. Okay, so tapos na ba ang lahat? Okay, so tingnan natin yung inyong mga answers. So nandito na yung ating coordinate plane na merong mga answers ng ating activity. Okay, so yung ating point A ay matatagpuan sa quadrant 2 dahil ang kanyang x-coordinate ay negative 5 at ang y-coordinate ay positive 7. Ang ating namang point B ay makikita sa quadrant 4. Ang kanyang coordinate sa x ay 6 at ang y-coordinate nito ay negative 3. Ang ating point C naman ay makikita sa ating quadrant 3 dahil ang kanyang x-coordinate ay negative 2 at ang y-coordinate ay negative 4. Ang ating point D naman ay matatagpuan natin sa ating quadrant 1 dahil ang ating coordinate sa x ay 3 at ang coordinate natin sa y ay 8. At ang pinakahuli ay ating point E. Ito ay matatagpuan sa quadrant 4 dahil ito ay may coordinate ng x na 4 at ang y coordinate ay negative 5. Okay, so sinong makakuha ng perfect score? Okay, so sa pamamagitan ng ating activity na ito, hopefully ay na-recall or inyong na pag-alaman ulit yung ating lesson about sa Cartesian plane. bago tayo magpatuloy, tanggalin muna natin yung stress natin sa katatapos lang natin na activity. So, magkakaroon tayo ng game. So, ang game natin ay pinamagatang nakaka-relate ka ba? Okay, so ang instructions, okay, determine the connection or relationship between the picture on the left to the picture on the right. No? So ano ba yung connection ng picture sa kaliwa natin sa picture na nasa right? No? So if you already know the answer, so immediately stand and say, nakaka-relate ako. Okay, so ready na ba kayo? Okay, so ito na yung ating unang set ng ating mga pictures. Eto, so kilala nyo ba ito silang dalawa? Okay, so sila Coco Martin and Yassi, ano ba yung relationship nila or yung kanilang connection bilang mga characters in the show na ang Probinsyano? Okay, may nakaka-relate na ba? Okay, so ang kanilang connection or relationship sa show na ang Probinsyano ay mag-asawa. Okay. Ito na yung pangalawang nating set ng mga pictures. Sa left ay yung mga naputol na kahoy at sa right ay ang pagbaha or flood. Ano ba ang relationship or connection nitong dalawang pictures? Nakaka-relate ka ba? Okay, so may nakarelate. May tumayo. Okay, so ano ang relationship nito? Okay, so yung pagputol ng ating mga punong kahoy ay siyang dahilan ng pagbaha dahil wala nang nag-prevent ng tubig nang dumating ang tag-ulan. Okay, very good. Ito naman yung pangatlong set ng ating mga pictures. Okay, yung babaeng nakatunghay sa picture, yung nasa left na side, at yung sa right side naman ay babaeng may corona. Ano ba ang relationship or connection ng dalawang pictures? Nakaka-relate ka ba? Okay, so merong nakaka-relate. Okay, so anong relationship ng dalawang pictures? Okay, so yung sa left, okay, nabigo dahil nagmahal. Yung sa right naman, okay, sumikap at nagtagumpay. Ito naman yung pang-apat natin na set ng mga pictures. Sa left ay meron tayong x is equal to 6 at sa right ay meron tayong 3x is equal to 18. Okay, so anong connection nitong dalawa? Okay, so ito ay ang x dahil equals 6 sa ating left, sa ating right, pag ginamit natin yung value ng x na 6. So, yung 3 times 6 ay equal siya sa 18. Okay, so yun ang relationship. So, merong mga relationship or merong connection yung mga pictures natin sa left side at sa ating mga pictures na nasa right side. Okay, so tingnan naman natin kung ano yung relationship or connection ng dalawang sets na nasa picture natin ngayon. So meron tayong set A na nasa left side at yung set B naman sa right side. So ano naman yung kanilang relationship? Okay, so andito yung ating example. Okay, so ito ay ipapakita natin yung relationship sa pamamagitan ng set of ordered pairs. So you can see on our first ordered pair, orchid, no? Yung orchid na may arrow sa papuntang flower. So yung orchid ay flower. Yung pangalawa naman ay gumamela, ito rin ay flower. How about yung guava, santan, atis, or melon? Okay, so gagamitin natin yung ating worksheet 2 para maansina naman natin yung mga blanks na nandito sa iba pang ordered pairs ng relationship or connection ng set A natin at saka ng set B. Okay, so write the set of ordered pairs in the diagram below. So the first two ordered pairs are done for you. So tapos na yung ordered pair natin na orchid, flower, gumamela, flower. Ano naman yung apat pa na ordered pairs? Okay, tapos na ba kayong mag-answer? Okay, so tingnan natin kung tama yung mga answers ninyo. Okay, so we have here for the remaining 4 pairs. No? Okay, so we have guava, fruit, santan, flower, atis, fruit, then melon, fruit. Okay, so very good. Merong nakakuha ng lahat na 4 na ordered pairs. Okay. Let's continue with our activity. This time, you will answer some questions. So you still have to use our worksheet number 2. Question number 1. How many ordered pairs are there? Number 2. What elements belong to set A? To set B? Number 3. Is there a repetition of the first elements in the ordered pairs? How about in second elements of the ordered pairs? Number 4. Does the set of ordered pairs represent a relation? Number 5. How is a relation represented? Okay, this time let's check your answers. So for question number 1, how many ordered pairs are there? The answer is there are 6 ordered pairs. Number 2, what elements belong to set A, to set B? For set A, we have orchid, gumamela, guava, santan, atis, melon. For set B, we have flower and fruit. Number 3, is there a repetition of the first elements in the ordered pairs? So there's no repetitions, so none. How about in second elements of the ordered pairs? So there is, so the answer is yes. Number 4, does the set of ordered pairs represent a relation? So the answer is yes. Number 5, how is a relation represented? So it is represented by arrow diagram. The set of ordered pairs that we have learned from our previous activity is what we called a relation. Since a relation is a set of ordered pairs, so you can see in our examples. Okay, so the set of all the first elements or coordinates of the ordered pairs is what we call domain. Okay, so you can see the orchid, gumamela, guava, santan, and atis and melon are domain. And the set of all the second elements or coordinates of the ordered pairs is what we call the range. So the flower and fruit are range. Okay, so let me see if you have learned something about the domain and the range of a relation. So you have to write the domain and the range of the following relations. So you have to use our worksheet 3 pa rin. Okay, so for number 1, you have here this set of domain and range. So what are the domain? What are the range? And number 2, you have here our mapping diagram. So you have to determine what are the domain and the range. And of course, you have here the table. So determine the domain and the range. Okay, I will give you 5 minutes to do the activity. Okay, I think you're done now, so let's check your work. Okay, so try to see the answers on our presentation. Okay, so check your own work. Okay, so we have here for number 1, the domain and the range. Okay, so you can see here. So, tingnan mabuti kung meron kayong na-miss na element dyan sa domain and the range. Okay, so see also number 2. So check your work. Okay, and for our number 3. Okay, so I hope that you have learned something about this activity. A relation can be represented in 5 ways. Okay, so we have here the first one is using a table of values. Okay, so you can see there are 2 ways of using the table, so it can be in horizontal form or in vertical form. The second way of representing a relation is by using a graph. So you can see an example of a relation being graphed. The third way of representing a relation is by using a row diagram or mapping diagram. So you can see an example of illustration of the mapping diagram. The fourth way of representing a relation is by using an equation or rule. So for an example, y is equal to 2x. Okay, another example is 3x plus y is equal to 4. The fifth way of representing a relation is in words or description. Example, the relation of shoe size to their age. Another example, the relation of the time traveled to the distance traveled. Okay, so this time, titingnan ko kung may natutunan kayo sa ating lesson ng representations of our relation. So, you will use the activity sheet number 3. So, the instruction is, given the set of ordered pairs below, so represent the relation as one table, number 2 as mapping diagram, and number 3 as a graph. Okay, so I will give you 5 minutes to answer the worksheet number 3. So this time, let us check your work. Okay, so hopefully meron kayong mga tamang mga answers. So the relation that being shown to you has been represented in the table, in the mapping diagram, and in the graph. So this time, let's go to our topic on classifications or types of relations. Okay, so a relation is called one-to-one if every element in the domain is mapped to a unique element in the range. Okay, so you can see our example on the right side. So you can see 1 is mapped to A, 2 is mapped to B, and 3 is mapped to C. So this is what we call one-to-one. Another classification or type of relation is many-to-one. So a relation is many-to-one if 2 or more elements in the domain are mapped to the same element in the range. So you can see on the right side our example. So 1 is mapped to A, 2 is mapped still to A, and 3 is mapped to C. So 1 and 2 are mapped to A. So that's why we call this as many-to-one. Another classification or type of relation is one-to-many. So a relation is one-to-many if an element in the domain is mapped to 2 or more elements in the range. So you can see in our example that 1 is mapped to A, still mapped to B, and still mapped to C. So there is only one element in the as domain, but it is mapped to 3 elements in the range. So that's why it is called one-to-many. Another classification or type of relation is the many-to-many. So a relation is many-to-many if 2 or more elements in the domain are mapped to 2 or more elements in the range. So you can see our example on the right that the element of the domain 1 is mapped to A and still the 1 is mapped to B. And another element 2 which is mapped to B and still it is mapped to C. And the 3 is mapped to A. So 1 and 2 are mapped to B. And our 3 and 1 are mapped to A. So that's why many to many. Okay, this time, so let me see kung meron kayong natutunan sa lesson natin about classification or types of relation. So you write whether the following is one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, or many-to-many. Use your worksheet number 4. So you can see here 4 illustrations of our relation. So try to identify the type of each of the relation. Check your work. Okay, for number 1, we have here one-to-many. Number 2, the answer is many-to-many. Number 3, the answer is one-to-one. And number 4, the answer is many-to-many. So hopefully you got it right. Okay, so you have learned something about our lesson on classification or types of relation. This time, let's proceed to our topic on function. So what is this function? So function is a special type of relation. Bakit special ito? So it is a relation in which the domain is mapped to exactly one element in the range. Thus, a set is a function if no two distinct ordered pairs have the same first element or domain. So function can either be one-to-one or a many-to-one correspondence. So note that a rule represents a function if and only if it can be written in the form y is equal to f of x. Meron tayo ditong examples ng function at hindi function. Okay, sa example 1 ay nakikita ninyo dito yung illustration na yung elements ng x ay na-map sa elements ng y. So every value in x, there is a unique value in y. So the A is mapped to 0, B is mapped to 2, C is mapped to 6, D is mapped to 4. So this is a one-to-one type of relation. Dito naman sa pangalawa, this is not a function. Why? Because the domain value 1, yung may mga circle, ay na-paired sa value na 1 at saka 3. Okay, kaya hindi ito function. Yung domain na 1 ay may dalawang value na 1 and 3. Pwede nating i-test yung ating graph kung ang graph na line ay isang function or not. Okay, so using the vertical line test. Okay, so our relation is a function if a vertical line drawn through its graph passes through only one point. So this vertical line test is also known as the pencil test. So take a pencil and move it from left to right. So from negative x to positive x. So if it crosses more than one point, it is not a function. So try to see this one. Okay. So yung pencil ay isang point lang ang madaanan niya. So hindi dalawa. So that's why what I have shown to you is a function. Okay, another example na magpapakita ng vertical line test. Okay, so tingnan natin, no? Okay, so you can see this graph is not a function because using the vertical line test, okay, so tingnan natin. Okay, so it passes 2 points on the graph. So this is not a function because a graph can only be a function only if the vertical line passes through the graph at one distinct point. So kung titingnan ninyo dalawang points, okay, so meron tayo dito at saka dito sa baba, na? Okay, so kaya hindi ito function. Okay, so another example of vertical line test. So you have here, you can see the graph with the line. Okay, so this is a function, no? Okay, because by using the vertical line test, so the vertical line, okay, passes through the graph at one distinct point. So this is also a function. Kapag ang graph ng isang relation ay horizontal line, so it is a function. Okay, so bakit function? Okay, because it can be described by the equation y is equal to c, where c is any constant. So it is called a constant function. So makikita ninyo yung value ng x natin ay hindi nagkapareho. So meron tayong value ng x na 4, 2, 0, negative 2. Pero yung value ng y natin ay puro positive 3. Okay, so this is a many to one classification of a relation. So this is a function. Kapag ang graph ng relation is a vertical line, okay, yung patayong linya, okay, ito ay hindi function. Bakit? A vertical line, it can be described by the equation x is equal to c. So, which is not a function. Kung titingnan ninyo yung value ng x natin ay puro lahat 3. Okay, so na-map siya sa iba't ibang value sa y. So, kung babalikan natin yung kanina na sinabi ko na ang function ay merong unique na value ng x. So, dito hindi unique. So, hindi siya iba-iba yung value ng x. So, meron lang tayong value ng x na 3. Okay, kahit na may iba-iba tong value sa y. So, this is a one-to-many na type ng relation. Kaya, hindi ito function. Okay. Okay, so let's have a game. Okay, so tingnan natin dito. Okay, so determine whether the given ordered pair is a function. Okay, so tingnan ninyo yung ordered pair na ito. Function kaya ito. So tingnan ninyo lahat ng domain, yung first natin na mga elements. May magkapareho ba? Okay, or hindi sila pare-pareho. Okay, function pa ito or hindi? Okay, so this is a function. Okay, so nakita niyo yung domain 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So walang magkapareho. Kaya ito ay isang function. Okay, so dito naman, okay, which mapping represents a function? Is it choice 1 or is it choice 2? Okay, so what is your answer? Okay, so the answer is choice 1. Okay, so yung choice 1 natin ay function dahil bawat isa ay na-map sa value ng y at walang parehong domain ang na-map sa ating x or sa range. No? Okay, so sa 2 ay merong or yung 1 ay na-map sa value ng 3 and negative 2. Kaya hindi function yung choice 2. Okay, so dito naman, determine whether the given table of values is a function. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so this is our table. Okay, so you can see the values of x and the values of y. Okay, so what is your answer? Is it function or not? Okay, so the correct answer is not a function. Okay, so kung titingnan yung x natin ay merong dalawang negative 2. Kaya, hindi siya function. Another one. So, determine whether the equation is a function. So, tingnan mabuti yung ating illustration dito. So, you have here a table of the values of x and y. So, illustrated also in diagram. Okay. So, let's see what's your answer. Is this a function or not? Okay, so the correct answer is not a function. So, bakit kaya? So, 1 kasi dito is map to negative 1 and 1. So, the same with ang 2 natin ay na-map sa negative 2 at saka positive 2. So, this is many to many na type ng ating relation. Kaya hindi siya function. This time ay gusto kong malaman kung mayroon kayong natutunan sa ating topic about function. So you have to determine whether the graph is a function or not. So isusulat ninyo sa inyong worksheet number 5 kung ang mga graphs natin ay function or hindi. Okay, so you write function if it is a function, and then you write not if it is not a function. Okay, so this is our number 1. So try to see our graph, if it is a function or not. Then number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8. Okay, I will give you 2 minutes to answer. Okay, so let's see if your answers are correct. Okay, so we have here our graphs. Okay, so let us see if your number 1 is correct. So number 1 is a function. Okay, number 2. Okay, so it's still function. How about number 3? So it's not a function. Okay, number 4. It is a function. Number 5 is not a function. Number 6 is a function. Number 7 is not a function. And number 8 is not a function. Okay, sinong nakakuha ng perfect score dyan? Okay, so this time, proceed naman tayo sa bago naman nating topic, no? Okay, so previously, I had mentioned to you the different representations of a relation. So a relation may be also represented by an equation in 2 variables or the so-called rule or equation. So ito yung previous natin na slide kung saan ay ipinakita ko sa inyo yung representation ng ating relation bilang equation or rule. Okay. So, example niyan ay 3x plus y is equal to 4. So, ano yung 2 variables na nandyan? So, we have the variable x and the variable y. Okay, so kahit saan or sa anong mga relation, makikita ninyo usually ay dalawang variables. Yung dalawang variables na ating relation ay tinatawag na independent variable at dependent variable. Yung independent variable is a variable whose value does not depend on the other variable. At saka yung dependent variable naman is a variable whose value depends on the other variable. So example, the variable x is considered the independent variable because any value could be assigned to it. However, the variable y is the dependent variable because its value depends on the value of x. Examples ng ating independent and dependent variables ay sa ating daily life or sa ating real life situation. So example, the average monthly electric bill increased as the number of people staying at home increased. So independent variable doon ay yung number of people, yung number ng tao na sa bahay ay independent. So yung dependent variable natin, yung average monthly electric bill. So yung electric bill natin, tataas yan kung maraming taong nakatira sa isang bahay. Kung konti, so konti rin yung babayaran na electric bill. So, yung electric bill ay nagde-depend yung kanyang value doon sa number ng tao na nakatira sa bahay. So, yun naman yung tao sa nakatira sa bahay ay siyang independent variable. Another, the number of people sharing a pizza is related to the size of the slice each person gets. So, independent variable doon ay ang number of people sharing a pizza. So, dependent variable naman doon ay yung size of the slice each person gets. So, kung marami yung magsishare o yung maghati-hati ng pizza, of course, liliit at liliit yung slice ng pizza na kakainin niya. Whereas kung konti lang, lalaki na naman yung slice ng pizza. So, dependent yung slice ng pizza sa number ng mga tao na mag-share na kakain ito. So, marami tayong examples dito. Okay, so number 3, the number of mangoes bought is related to the amount paid for mangoes. So, your independent variable dito ay number of mangoes and yung dependent variable ay ang amount paid. So, pag marami yung bilhin na mangga, of course, mas malaki yung babayaran ninyo. So, for number 4, as the distance a taxi travel increases, the fare also increases. So, independent variable dito ay ang distance a taxi travels and the dependent variable is fare. So, kung malayo yung travel ng taxi, mas mahal yung babayaran na pamasahe. So, number 5, the height of the plant is related to the number of months it was grown. So, independent variable dito ay ang number of months grown ng plants at yung dependent variable ay yung height nito na pag-grow ng isang plant. Okay, this time, we'll have another activity. Okay, so you will use your worksheet 6. So, for each set of scenarios below, determine the independent variable and the dependent variable. So, write IV for independent variable and DV for dependent variable. Write your answer on the box provided before each scenario in each number. So, you can see that in your worksheet 6. So, I will give you 3 minutes. Okay, let's check your answer. Okay, so you can see here in number 1, the number of minutes running is the independent variable, while the amount of calories burned is the dependent variable. For number 2, the independent variable is the number of GB consumed, and the dependent variable is the amount of internet bill. For number 3, the independent variable is the number of hours worked for, while the dependent variable is the amount of money earned on a paycheck. For number 4, the independent variable is the number of vitamins bought, while the total purchase in pharmacy is the dependent variable. For number 5, your level of performance and the test scores is the independent variable, and your mathematics grade is the dependent variable. For number 6, the amount of gas in the tank is independent variable and the total distance traveled is the dependent variable. For number 7, the age of an antique furniture is independent variable, while the price it can fetch in the market is the dependent variable. For number 8, who score more points is independent variable, and the dependent variable is result of a football game. For number 9, the independent variable is the number of cookies, while total calories and fat is the dependent variable. Number 10, the independent variable is level of educational attainment, and the opportunities of high-paying job is the dependent variable. Okay, so hopefully you've got a high score in this activity. Okay, hold your breath, my dear students, for we are about to finish our lessons for today. So we have our last activity, and you will use this worksheet 7 of yours. And this activity is still on independent and dependent variables. So you have to read and analyze the given situations, identify the independent and dependent variables for each situation described below. So you have here 3 situations, and then you write the independent variable and the dependent variable for each item. Okay, let's check your answers in your worksheet 7. So we have here number 1, the water pressure in the ears of a diver is directly related to the depth of the water. So the pressure on the ears of a diver depends on the depth of a water. So independent variable there is the depth of a water, and then the dependent variable is the pressure on the ears of a diver. Number 2, the wheelbarrow with several bags of soil weighs more than a wheelbarrow with just few bags of soil. So the weight of the wheelbarrow depends on the bags of soil. So the independent variable is bags of soil, while the dependent variable weight of the wheelbarrow. For number 3, the amount of remaining ink in the printer is related to the number of pages printed. The amount of remaining ink in the printer depends on the number of pages printed. So the independent variable is the number of pages printed, and the dependent variable is the amount of remaining ink in the printer. Okay, so since we are done with our lesson, let's go back to our objectives and try to see if we had achieved our 7 objectives for today. So let's see for our objective 1. So did you illustrate a relation? Yes or no? Number 2, did you represent a relation in terms of ordered pairs, table, mapping diagram, graph, and rule method? Yes or no? Number 3, did you identify the type of relation? Yes or no? Number 4, did you illustrate the function? Yes or no? Number 5, define dependent and independent variables. Yes or no? Number 6, did you apply dependent and independent variables in real-life situations? Yes or no? Number 7, did you differentiate the dependent variable from the independent variable? Yes or no? Okay, so if your answers are all yes, congratulations, you have learned everything from our lessons today. So thank you very much for viewing and listening our lessons this day. So hopefully that you will be able to view and listen again to the next video lessons that we are going to have. Thank you, grade 8 students. This is Ma'am Carissa Diaz saying goodbye and God bless.